Howdy, and welcome to Thursday's edition of Today's Bread. Now, this week's discussion on the series Messages on the Old Testament is History is God's Story, but today's portion is the Flood of Judgment. Scripture reference Genesis 6, verses 5 through 8, also chapter 7, verses 1 through 21, and also chapter 8, verses 1 through 22. Now, by Genesis 6, the sin that had driven Adam and Eve from the garden had passed on to all humans. Verse 5 describes humanity's wickedness as being great and also points out that it not only marked their behavior, but their thoughts and inclinations as well. When the subject of divine judgment comes up, some picture God as vindictive, an angry deity who is out to get sinners. Well, verse 6, however, paints a different picture of how sin affects God. It grieves him, filling his loving heart with pain. God would later say through the prophet Ezekiel, "I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live." God's grief over the sinfulness of all people led him to judge the human race and even the animal kingdom, Genesis 6, 7. Humankind's thorough sinfulness called for a thorough judgment. So great was their sin that only one man enjoyed God's favor, Noah, verse 8. He was to be instrumental in establishing a new start beyond the judgment. While some have discounted the story of Noah and the flood, it teaches us some valuable truths today. Sin grieves God. This should make us think differently about our own sin and sinfulness around us. Sin also calls for God's judgment. But we need to remember that the same grace that rescued Noah from judgment can rescue any sinner from sin and its judgment, Ephesians 2, verses 8 and 9. It will also bring him or her into a whole new life, 2 Corinthians 5:17. Noah's deliverance lay in building and entering a boat called the ark, verse 1 of chapter 7. God also told Noah to load the ark with male and female animals, verse 2. 40 days of rain brought a worldwide flood on the earth, but the ark floated safely on top of the water, verse 17. Living creatures outside the ark perished, verse 21. In time, God caused the flood to recede, chapter 8, verse 1, to the point that Noah and those in the ark could leave the boat and return to dry ground, verses 15 and 16. Noah responded to his rescue by offering sacrifices to God in verse 20. These sacrifices pleased God. Although he knew human wickedness had not come to an end, God promised to never destroy humankind this way ever again, verse 21. Now the passing of the season serves as a reminder of this promise. The account of Noah and the ark is a beautiful picture of God's plan for salvation today. God provided safety for those on board the ark. God's Son, Jesus Christ, provides every sinner with a place of safety from sin's destruction. Today, our salvation is through faith in Jesus Christ. Thank you, and I pray that you've enjoyed today's edition of Fresh Daily Bread. Now, have you prayed today? Well, Thursday's prayer focus is for the fivefold ministry. Pray for the leadership of your church, as well as for the missionaries and evangelists that you and your church support. How about calling them out by name? Now remember, Jesus, he's coming back soon. Here's Thursday's blessing. I bless you with a new sense of expectancy that will rise within you as you begin to see with eyes of faith the possibilities that lie ahead of you.